Yeah.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. You're all thinking about food. I see that in your faces. I do too. But I'm afraid we can't make this quick because it's an important topic, your career. I will tell you why, but I think you already know why. Okay, so before we start, hello, I'm Dee. I'm the Pretzel Dee. And my non-internet name is Diana Scharf, and I am, like mentioned, am from the beautiful Bavaria in Germany, where said pretzels are coming from. We have the best pretzels. Doesn't matter what anyone tells you, we have the best pretzels. And the best beer. If you're more into beer, and I think I'm making a bold statement here, but okay. This talk is not about beer, and I'm on social media, as most of us are, but we all know that things are getting a bit complicated there right now. I mean, I'm still on Twitter, this sinking or not sinking ship, who knows. But just in case, I'm also on Mastodon on the PHPC social instance with the same handle, @DianaWebDev. And if this whole social media thing is going to burn down, which might happen, I still have like this good old website. I work as a full stack software developer at Beyond Code, where we work mostly with Laravel, a PHP framework you might know. But we also do Vue stuff, tools for Tailwind, and we make tools for developers. So tools for you. You might have heard of Tinkerwell, which is basically a REPL for PHP, but on steroids. Or you might have heard of Expose, which is a way to share your local development site with a secure tunnel over the web. So, let's get into this. Before I really start with this talk, I need to set some expectations. Because I will not paint a picture of my perfect and fancy, glamorous career. Because, look at me. I am young. I'm 28, soon to be 29. And while I graduated 5 years ago, I'm not totally fresh. I still, compared to many of you in this room, I'm pretty fresh in this field as a working developer. So, actually, what have I to tell you? But I am very lucky that I was raised by my father, who is a very decent and especially thoughtful person. And he taught me from very early on the importance of self-reflection and the role it can play in shaping your life. The basic idea is that you experience something, you do something, and you reflect about it, and from this reflection, from these insights, you can shape your life into a direction that you want, and more importantly, that feels right, just deep down inside of you. I know this all sounds great in theory, and this talk is not about the pretty hypothetical lessons my dad taught me because he wasn't a developer, and he isn't a developer, he's still alive, all good. Instead, I will tell you about my experiences and the very specific mistakes I did as a developer. And by sharing the lessons I learned with you today, I may help you to prevent you to make at least some of the same mistakes. But mistakes aren't bad in general. Failure isn't fatal. As Winston Churchill said one time, the only thing that counts is the courage to continue. the courage to continue this never-ending cycle of experiencing, reflecting on this experience, and shaping your future way, and start all over again. And when it comes to career advice, you often hear phrases like, find your passion, do what you love what you do, all that stuff. And while nothing is wrong about these phrases in general, I will tell you how dangerous they can be for your career and for your mental health. So to finish up your expectations for today, I won't tell you any phrase. I will tell you, every story that I tell you is out of my own experience. Every advice I may give you is tested on my own career. So this is one expectation you can have, and this is at the same time the promise I have for you today. No bullshit. We good? Good. Okay, to start, I want you to think about this one thing in the room, and this is Monday. Yay, Monday, yeah. Not just Monday as the day, but more as like the start of your work week. So if you start your work week on Sunday, you should think about Sunday, but you know what I mean. And you can imagine the following thing. You sit at dinner on Sunday evening with your partner or your family, and you had a great weekend. But you notice this one nagging thought in your head. Tomorrow is Monday. I have to work. How do you feel? Do you feel like, hell yeah, tomorrow is Monday. I can't wait. Let's get right into it. I don't need sleep. I will work just the night through it. Or is it less excited, but still, Monday is fine. Let's go. Or is Monday for you completely different? Is Monday for you just this big, fat, oh no, I don't want to. Skip this Monday, skip this week, I want Friday. If you ever posted, thank God it's Friday, on your social media, this is basically your feeling about Monday. Of course, not every Monday will be the same. One Monday will be great, next Monday won't be that great, depends. But just take an average. And if you're not in this range between hell yeah Monday and Monday is fine, but I'm not that excited, I suggest you think about changing something. Not quitting your job. Please don't do that, because otherwise your bosses will be mad at me and I don't want that. Because think about it like about software development. We all know software development. And if you have an application that has grown over a few years, it will have some bugs and performance issues. And will you throw it away just because of that? You won't. You will work on it on several iterations just to make it better. And in the best case, we have made a stable, performant application, but at least you will have made some progress. And I think progress and change is just in our nature as developers. So this gives us a very good advantage for our career, because your career is basically an application that has grown over a few years. But actually, how to change something? I mean, I know it's hard. You're so caught up in this loop between your work and your family and so many things to care about, and all the stress from the outside, like pandemic and the economic situation and all the horrible things that are happening in the world, that it's so hard to catch the present moment, reflect about it, and change something. But again, your career is an application. And while it's not easy to change something about it, I'm sure we will find one way or another. And with that, let's get back to this Mondays. Over the years, I found out about something that I call the Monday feeling. Is Monday your friend, or does he hit you in the face? And you can use this Monday feeling just every week if you want to check how happy you are with your career or your job right now. And if you're not sure, if you're in this range between hell yeah and well okay, like I showed you a minute ago, I suggest you take action and keep track of your Monday feeling. You can do this on Twitter with a hashtag if you want to, but you don't have to. You can open up a notebook or a Markdown file or a Notion page, whatever you want, and just write down one sentence about how you feel about the upcoming Monday. You can do this just every Sunday evening, takes a minute, so not much work. And I did this some time ago, but I took it a step further because I had every reason to. I had a pretty great job a bit earlier in my career. I was part of an awesome team. I did Laravel there for the first time in a professional environment. It was just great. But at some point, it started to suck, and I dreaded Mondays. I thought, thank God it's Friday, every Friday. And I promised you no bullshit before. For me, that means I'm very honest with you. I had a pretty bad mental state at that time in my life because I struggled with mental issues my whole life. So I wasn't sure, is it just me that everything sucks right now, or is really something wrong with my job? So I opened up a new Notion page, like I always do when I'm in a personal crisis. And I ask myself 2 questions every day, not just Sundays. What did you do? Like specifically, what did you code on that day? And how did you feel about the work that you did, the impact of the work that you did? And I digged into my Notion archives because there are some very interesting things to find. I wrote something like, I'm afraid that I'll unlearn to make good user interfaces. I'm a full stack dev, so I make user interfaces sometimes. My work felt a bit useless, and work should never feel useless. I had a call with a client where we identified several problems about their tech stack, but in the end, we shouldn't do anything about it, which is a nightmare for me. I was overwhelmed with work. I was close to burnout, but still, I was bored. And I wanted to do everything else except for my work. I kept track of this for about 3 months. So this is just an example. And after this time, I had confirmation for my rational self. I had the proof for myself that something was wrong and I had to change something. So this Monday feeling is the first indicator I found out about, and we will talk about a few more today. The next one up is the dollar index. You can call it the pound or euro index as well, so whichever currency you're paying your bills in. Do you earn money, or do you get paid pain compensation? It's pretty easy to use this dollar index on a larger scale to check in. Just every time your paycheck or your salary arrives, ask yourself, is it an honest reward for your work, an appreciation for your work? Or is it money to pay you to endure your job situation and all the suffering? As long as my jobs were good, time just flew by. Cool, salary came in yesterday, that's great. But where did the time go? Whatever, let's get to the next month. I didn't much care about my salary as long as it came in, of course. But whenever my jobs tilted into the opposite direction, I found myself thinking, this sucks, this is bad, I hate Mondays, but at least I get paid well. And this was always the moment where I was thinking, stop it. You have to change something. I know money is important. Money can't buy us happiness, but it's still important because we have to pay our rent, our bills, we have to feed our families, our dogs, our cats, our horses, whatever. But our work, our daily work, 8 to 10 to hopefully not 12 hours a day, is a too big part of our lives that anybody should work just for the money and be unhappy about it. It's just not worth it. So, it's good that this talk is one of the first at this conference, so your brains are hopefully still fresh. Because I have a little mind experiment for you. Imagine the following. You sit down on your desk Friday morning, if you have finished this conference, and you're just about to get started with your work, but suddenly your boss calls, and she tells you, you don't have to work anymore. You're not fired. You're not fired. Everything is fine. It's just that this company has too much money, you will get your salary like you used to, but you don't have to work anymore. I know this is a bit abstract because it's quite likely that it won't happen. Otherwise, I'm happy for you. But just get into the state of mind. Here's the question. How fast do you walk away? Do you just stand up and leave the office? Do you even consider staying where you are, pretending like nothing has happened? Or do you run away? What is your escape speed for your current job? How fast would you run if nothing would matter? If you ask me, I think I would get up, walk away with my dog. Because I'm not good at sitting still for a long time, and I'm running around here as well. But in the afternoon, I would return to my desk and work on that new Tinkerwell feature or whatever it is for the day. If you asked me the same question some time ago, I would have jumped out of the damn window just to get away from this company. You can ask yourself, is this escape speed like the acceleration of gravity? Or do you want to stay where you are every time when you're not really sure if you're doing the right thing? It's a great gift, I love it. I love the whole season, it's great. So this is my water reminder. I need this every time. I have to freshen up my voice a bit because I want to tell you a story. And this story has everything that a good story needs. Coding, of course, heartbreak, and a happy ending. So let me tell you the story of how I started coding. So already mentioned, I started coding pretty early. I think it was when I was 10 years old, the first lines of HTML and CSS. But after a few months in, I wrote PHP code. I'm not saying it was pretty code, but it worked. I think this were like the late days of PHP 4. I didn't notice at this time, but I just checked it. And over the years, I learned more about programming, of course, different languages, just technology in general. But PHP just was my favorite language. I love PHP. And I assume a lot of you do too, because otherwise you wouldn't be here, I hope. But can you imagine that at some point my love for PHP vanished and my love for coding in general broke completely? How could this happen? Another job earlier in my career, also first, great team, great company. But then I got assigned to a new client. And to be honest with you, the code base of this client, it was a complete mess. It was PHP code, but it has grown over 15 years without a framework, without any code conventions, even no code refactoring or formatting, nothing of it. I'm talking like files, function PHP files with 40,000 lines. That kind of code. But at first, it was a challenge for me because I thought, okay, let's refactor the heck out of it. Let's make it better, faster, more stable. But then I realized this wasn't what the client wanted. The client wanted it to stay as like it was, pretty much, and just to have it work. Big air quotes, work. Different definitions of a working system. So my day pretty soon looked like running around, extinguishing fires, software fires of course, deploying quick fixes and workarounds, adding duct tape everywhere and helping my coworkers to do the same. And at this point, I fell for a coping mechanism that every developer will experience once in a while. When in doubt, start a side project. I see you know this. I mean, nothing is wrong about the side project. They can be very great. But I got full into it. I worked late evenings. I worked whole weekends. I even learned a new language and a new framework just because I didn't want to see any line of web development code anymore. This is why I can develop an app, basically. And at this point, I realized that there is another indicator. I call it the side project count, because I will do everything else, but please, no code from work. And it's pretty easy to check this indicator. Every time you open up your IDE or you type git init into your terminal to hopefully version your side project, ask yourself, why are you doing this? Are you coping, like I did? Or do you just excited for new technology or for coding in general? Then I say go for it. But remember, you are a human being and you need breaks aside from code and your laptop. Just remember that. Okay, I told you about 4 indicators. The Monday feeling, the dollar index, the escape speed, I never get the order of these right, and the side project count. And you can use these as tools to evaluate how content and happy you are with your career right now. And if you're thinking just for a few seconds and you say, all good, all great, I'm really happy for you. It's really, really good. But it's quite likely that it won't be like this forever. And at some point, you decide that you need to change something. But we had it before. Changing something is hard. And I pondered this question a lot in the past few years. So I was able to work out the 5 fixes for your career. Yeah. And this is bullshit. This is the bullshit I'm talking about. Whenever I see this Instagram or Twitter post of the 5 to 10 steps to make your career stand out or whatever, I get really mad. Because there is no quick fix, no workaround that will fix your career in a day, a week, or even a year. Just not works like this. The only thing that you can change within the blink of an eye, not even a second, is your mindset. So I suggest we go with 5 impulses for your career mindset. Yes, I am a Loki fan. You might have noticed. The first impulse I have for you is the most important one. It leads the others in a kind of way. What is success? And why is it so important? For that, back to software development. What is the first thing that you do when you start a new project or when you just start coding in general? Do you just hop into your IDE and hack in as many lines of code as possible, as fast as you can? That's not what you do. Before you start working on a new feature, you think about a concept. Before you start working on a bug, you think about the solution, the greater picture of your application, whatever. Before you start coding, before you even start touching your keyboard, you think. And you should apply the same to your career. Before changing directions in your career or starting your career, think. It's pretty obvious, but a lot of people don't do this. So let's think together a bit about success. What does success look like? Is success working at the fancy corporation, making huge numbers of money, driving that fancy car, which is hopefully electric, having a huge mansion where heaps of money are everywhere, you know? Or is success working at a smaller company, pretty relaxed, maybe doing something good with your job for the environment or whatever? Regular, 9 to 5, maybe remote, maybe go surfing with your colleagues. Or is success traveling the world, seeing a new country each month and work wherever you are on your own? So none of this is success. None of this. But at the same time, everything of this is success. Because success is different for every one of us. It's individual for every person. Instead of asking what is success for society or Instagram or whatever, you should ask, what is success for you? After I quit my last job, I was a bit lost. I knew I had to get away from this company, but I wasn't sure what should be my next step. What should I do? So I opened up this new Notion page, and I pondered about this what success question for myself. This is pretty personal for everyone, but I have an example for you, because for me, it's pretty simple. First, I don't want to be rich. I just don't need that. But still, I don't want to count every penny that I spend. Second, I want to work remote. It's really important to me, so I can travel to conferences, for example. And when I'm at home, I can spend a lot of time with my dog. She's not an office dog. She doesn't like people. And the third, and for me, most important thing, I want to work in a team where I am not the smartest person in the room. Because with being the smartest person in the room is perfect for your ego. You will feel great. But you can't learn anything. And I want to learn something new every day. After I came up with these 3 points, I could commit to a goal and take specific steps into a direction to reach that goal. And it worked. I work at Beyond Code, where I am definitely not the smartest person in the room. I am working remote. My bosses are living 6 hours from me. And I'm not rich, but I'm getting along pretty well. So thinking about success made it possible for me to open myself up into a direction that led to my goal. So let's get to the fun part. I assume that you heard at least one of these at some point, or you saw them on Instagram or Twitter or Mastodon or whatever. Do what you love what you do. Follow your passion. Work hard, dream big, get in the grind. Do it with passion or not at all. So let me get this straight. You only need to find your passion and the great career that you're dreaming of will just come by itself. I'm afraid we are in the bullshit section again. Because think about your daily job as a developer. Do you get paid because you're passionate about PHP, the framework of your choice, or the product that your company is, bless you, is selling? You don't, because passion pays no bills. You get paid because you fix a bug, you implement a new feature, or you share your knowledge with a client. You get paid because you serve a greater purpose, and purpose is what paying bills. Nothing is wrong about being passionate about your work. Passion can make you a great developer. I am passionate about Laravel, for example. But passion is only about you and the thing that you're passionate about. It's a bit of an ego thing. Purpose, however, purpose is something bigger. Purpose is about your work, the outcome of your work, and the influence on others. And like I said, passion is not wrong in general, but passion can be very dangerous for your career. Because passion can trap you. And I was in this passion trap for quite some time, and I regret it really much. Because I had a job that I was very proud of. I really loved what I did for coding there. Really had fun. And it was just very important for me and my ego. It even got that worse that I neglected obvious problems about the company and my job position. I didn't even have the need for a vacation, and I worked overtime by choice. How stupid I was, sorry. My passion made it hard for me to quit because I built some kind of false loyalty to the company just because I loved what I did for coding there. Again, passion is not wrong. If you're passionate about something, go for it. Stay that way. That's great. But please keep in mind that passion can blind you. And you need to be aware of this, that this passion can also trap you. So it may be that in your career, you're stuck and everything sucks. You're not stuck because of passion, but because of other reasons. And before you continue with the complaining and this everything is bad, stop for a minute and consider your perspective. For example, really simple example, won't match for any one of you, I think. If you're having an entry-level position or an internship that you just hate, change your perspective. Because it may be that you hate this position because it's not that paid well, and deep down inside of you, your ego is telling you you're too good for it. In this case, changing your perspective can help a lot. don't exploit yourself, of course. But if you change your perspective about an internship, you can see that with this very specific position, you learn a lot about that field where you're right in. And you can make connections that can serve you later in your life. So changing your perspective can be very helpful because your perspective on a situation matters. It helps you to receive a situation completely different and opens up. I'm not a native speaker, sorry. Path into directions that you didn't even realize before. But of course, it can be that you're still stuck. You change your perspective, still bad, but the costs of quitting are sometimes just too high because you need the money or whatever. And for this, I learned about an approach that I call embracing adversity. It means that you take the obstacle in your way and take it into your advantage. This approach is unique for every situation, so I don't have a catchy advice phrase for you, but I will tell you a story on how this approach helped me over a very hard time in my life. This is not a funny story. After I quit school, I started an apprenticeship for software development. In Germany, that means you work at a company for a quarter of a regular wage, and you also go to a school where you learn dedicated things for that job. At first it was quite cool because I liked coding before and I learned a lot of stuff. But in hindsight, there were indicators flashing red. I hated Mondays, for example. I dreaded Mondays. And this had two reasons. First up, there was no such thing as a work-life balance at this company. But the second and more important problem was that I was the only woman in my class and at that company. And the other guys, at some point, started bullying me for the only reason that I am a woman. They actually said that things like, you don't belong here. You belong into a kitchen or a hairdresser shop. Women and girls are not made for technology. So this is not a diversity talk. This is not like my main topic, because there are other people who are having very, very good talks about this. But this is a little reminder that this shit still happens. And at some point, I was so done with the situation that I knew I couldn't go on with this anymore. And I had three options at this time. First up, quitting, dropping out. But I didn't want it to, because I still like coding, and in the core, I like this apprenticeship. Second option was keep going with this for 3 more years. And I knew I couldn't do this. And the third option was to get really good grades, skip classes, and finish the whole thing earlier. So this is what I went for. I tried to take energy from the constant fear, from the threat, and especially the anger inside of me, because I was very angry. If your code is getting sabotaged during an exam, you're very angry. And I used this energy to study more, so I got this really good grades, and I finished the whole thing in not even quite 2 years before all the other guys. I turned down every job offer from that company because nobody was there for me, and went straight to university. Embracing adversity in my case meant that I learned how to push myself over my limits. I learned how to deal with, let's say, difficult people. And especially, I learned how to distance myself emotionally from a situation. I had to figure out everything by myself at this time in my life, and this was really hard. Dealing with tough career situations and decisions, however experienced you are, is always easier if you have someone to talk to. Not your partner, your family, or your friends. They can be a great support, but it's probably they won't understand you like another developer does. So you need to search for a safe space for people like you. Because it's probably that someone has experienced a situation of what you just did, and you can help each other. One safe space, one community I can highly recommend is Laravel's. Yes, Susanna is sitting here. She founded the whole thing. And this safe space for developers, Laravel developers, but we are also welcoming other developers, so this doesn't really matter, that are underrepresented due to their gender. And we try to provide this safe space so we can get feedback from each other, we can share ideas and just be there. And if you're not in the target group of Laravels, which is pretty likely in this room, I would highly appreciate it if you spread the word about it to your coworkers and developer friends, so Laravels can grow and we can work on making the developer space more diverse, because as we all heard in the keynote, more diverse teams are producing better code, so it's good for all of us. So it may be that nothing works. You changed your perspective, didn't work. You thought about success, didn't really work in your job too. You embraced adversity, and you found people who can support you. But still, you're stuck. And in this case, it's very important that you remember one simple but not easy thing. Remember that you can always quit. Maybe not today, next week, next month, but remember that no one forces you to work where you are right now. You might say, yeah, but then everybody will know that I failed this fancy position at a fancy corporation. That's your ego talking again, and I think you should change that. Just my opinion. Or you might say, like in my case, I am stronger than this. I am stronger than the guys who are bullying me and throwing away my papers every time. What for? What for are you stronger? Keep in mind that keep in mind that you can always quit, because otherwise your career and your job and your future can become your prison, and we don't want that. Okay, so enough of sad stories and dark talking. Let's wrap this up. I told you about 4 indicators that you can use to evaluate your career, and also 5 impulses that you can make use of to maybe change something about it. But I also promised you no bullshit. So here's the thing. This might not work for you, because in today's world, you don't have any guarantees anymore. You can go to the most fancy school, do a lot of planning and working and reflecting, and still end up on the street. But if you take impulses, indicators like these, work with them, edit them, make them special just for you, I can promise you that you will develop a mindset that will bring you forward just by itself. You will go from reacting to acting, to forming your own way. You will go from bug fixing your career to developing your career. And in the end, you will grow. And that's the whole point. Thank you.
Yeah, Thank you, Dee. I think this was probably one of the most important talks we have at this conference, being quite honest, all these insights. And the whole subject is important that we feel right. So, who doesn't feel right? Who has a question?
I'm not fixing anyone.
Any questions? No?
I have a question. How's your Monday feeling? Who is like, hell yeah? Oh, it should be more people. Who is okay? Who is oh no? Oh, you should change something. I made a Twitter poll yesterday or the day before, exact the same question, and it was what, like 33% for every answer, like totally balanced, and I think that's sad.
Okay. I have one last thought I like to share. How about your Monday feeling becomes your lunch feeling?
That's a good idea.
Let's get out there.
Lunch!
And big round of applause for the...
Thank you.